What have you guys been up to in quarantine?
I've been spending lots of time with my family. I haven't lived at home since I was, well, before uni. So we've been doing lots of family dinners, playing board games. It's actually been really, really nice having that quality time.
Well, that's awesome. That actually ties into something I'm going to speak about in a little bit, hopefully. Yeah, I've just been kind of trying to stick to being as kind of productive and on top of stuff as possible. You know, I think it's quite easy for people to kind of view this time off as a bit of a holiday. So whilst it's important to rest and recover and enjoy that time with family and friends, I've been making sure that my routines are kind of fairly similar in a sense, like getting up at the same time, you know, not just sitting in my pants and pajamas all day. So yeah, just trying to kind of stay productive, you know, and yeah, stay on top of it.
Perfect. All right. Well, all that stuff is great, and we're going to be talking more about it today. I'm going to take the floor. First of all, everybody, all of our people have pretty much got online now. We've got well over 100 people joining us today, which is amazing. Thank you all, first of all, for taking the time. I know there's a lot of different distractions, and that many of you probably have kids running around in the background. But Charlie, Mike, and I are three chiropractors who work at Halsa. I've changed my background here. So this is as close as I get to working from home, because when I can't lay my hands on people, then it's impossible for me to do that. So yeah, this is our clinic in Surbiton, which is the one that I work at currently. And Charlie works close by in the New Malden branch, and Mike is over in our branches over in Burnham. I'm going to be talking a little bit about working from home. I've been working from home myself. I've been doing these webinars for hundreds of chiropractors around the world who are also currently stuck in lockdown. We have to do an amount of CPD hours, continued professional development hours, every year, and so I've been providing them online with Mike. So it's been a bit more of a challenge because I haven't been able to get my adjustments, and I thought, and then I chatted to Charlie and Mike and thought, well, if we can't get our adjustments, how are the people faring at home with perhaps desk setups that aren't as ideal as they could be, working hunched over on sofas or in dining chairs and things of that nature. So I'm going to be using my screen in the background here as interactive content so we can go through stuff. So like I say, first of all, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on board with us today. It prevents me from looking like this guy here, where my beard grows out of control, my hair grows out. My hair's pretty out of control already because, you know, the last, I was a bit foolish before lockdown. My last haircut was actually in January. So I'm really making sure my gel is holding everything in position so I don't end up looking like Tom here. So there's a challenge whenever we start working from home. This young lady, like I say, the idea is that we're supposed to be working with a nice posture sat at a table. She isn't too bad like this, but it doesn't take her long to fatigue and fall asleep on the sofa like this. And chiropractors around the globe, this is our bane, people falling asleep on the sofa in an awkward position, and gives them those neck issues that people often come in with, acute flare-ups. Now, even with our Halsa employees and people we work with, educating them regularly about posture, we still sometimes catch them out. She's going to hate me. She might even be on the line right now. This is Danny, who works as part of our head office team. It was actually at one of the corporate wellness events we came in. I snapped this photograph of her sitting hunched over a little table, trying to work, but already experiencing some neck pain. And then as soon as I pointed it out to her, she was straight back up, lovely straight back. That's the way she should be sitting all the time. But of course, it's impossible to do that once you're sat down for a time. You start to fatigue more into this picture. So we're going to talk a little bit about ergonomics working at home, what you can do to help relieve some of this physical stress from sitting for an extended period of time. For those who don't know me in practice, I've worked for Halsa for the last 12 years, and in that time I've worked with some pretty big companies as part of our corporate outreach program. I myself was a rower, an athlete for 16 years, so I sort of brought that attitude of the strain that physical activity does is a similar sort of thing to the strain of having to endure sitting for an extended period of time, which is not what we were designed to do as an animal. So in an ideal world, our sitting or our workstations would look something like this. So if we have a nice office desk with a chair that has a nice lumbar support, our eyes and keyboards should be lined up with the screen, so there's not too much strain on our wrists, knees, hips, back, neck, any of those things. A lot of people have developed or got more sit-to-stand desks, and our front desk staff also use sit-to-stand desks, so they're standing for the majority of the day. And the reason for that is there's many different health benefits. Again, we're not really designed to sit for extended periods of time. So you can try and bring some of these concepts into how you work at home. Either you could have, if you have a countertop that's tall enough, you can stand for a period of time. Or if you have a dining chair that maybe doesn't have the lumbar support we see in this picture here, you can get a rolled up towel, place that behind your back, and that will give you some biomechanical feedback. So one of the tools we often suggest people use, this is the Amazon version, which is a laptop stand. You can see the legs fold down and it folds flat, so it kind of goes away. So if you're working from home for a long period of time, these are a pretty good investment because they raise the screen up. They take the strain of your wrist off your wrists by angling the keyboard. And like I say, they fold away nicely. Obviously, they can be sat on a desk or sat on a coffee table or a counter surface if you are standing. Now, the DIY version of that is over on this side. So this is actually how I am currently seated speaking to you. I have you all on a few different novels that I've been meaning to catch up with during this lockdown period. And we have a separate keyboard and mouse, which is very important if you're trying to raise that screen up to an appropriate height, so it's not you're not looking down constantly, because that will tend to put pressure on the back of the neck. So you want to try and raise the keyboard up. A shoebox is often used as well, and if you can get your hands on a separate keyboard and mouse, that will really help to take the physical strain off the wrists. So repetitive strain injury is one of the most common things that people also present with whenever they are using laptops solely instead of a keyboard for an extended period. So we're going to try and reduce the risks of all of that. No, I'm just looking at my little notes here in case I forgot anything. A big one. Mobile phones. We all have to use them nowadays, and quite often what will happen is we'll be sat looking and typing and doing our Instagram posts and all those different things as well, and that will cause what we commonly refer to as tech neck or pain from using technology for extended periods of time. So the way to get around this is to hug your knee up close to your body, and that allows you to rest the phone at a height that is more comfortable, and then you can type and use the phone, try and get it so it's not locked in, but you can keep it at the height where it is going to be more comfortable for you to use by just hugging that knee in. And what I would suggest, because that will give a nice stretch on the glutes, what you can do is swap that knee side to side, so you get both sides a nice even stretch and not taking the strain too much solely on one side. So raising that mobile phone up, raising the computer screen up, your iPad, whatever you're using during this time, because we all got Zoom calls with our families, meetings with our families. I've been connecting with my brother over in America, my sister in Australia. I come from a family of 8, so there's loads of us to try and catch up with. So when you're doing those types of calls or when you're working, you want to try and relieve the stress on the neck by raising whatever screen you're using up as much as possible. The other thing then that we commonly see people coming in with is lower back issues. And again, we're not designed to sit on our pelvic bones for as long as we do. If you can imagine where your hip bones come in at the side of the pelvis, those are the weight-bearing parts of your hips and lower back, and they transition the weight of your body into your legs and down to your feet. So if we're then imagining going from those standing bones into the seated bones of your pelvis, it takes the strain in a different part of the pelvis and a different part of the lower back where the discs are particularly vulnerable. So the best thing to do during the day, if you have to sit for hours at a time, is to take regular breaks. Some of the apps that I'm going to go through in just a moment will be able to schedule breaks. But during those breaks, you want to do some exercises. I've also produced a few YouTube videos for the different exercises you can do for neck, middle back, and lower back, and I'll share them with you in a moment as well. So ideally, from what the research says, about every half an hour, your muscles will have fatigued into that position that we saw with Danny a minute ago, where we're starting to look more like this. So in order to try and reset the posture back to something like this, then we want to try and do exercises about every half an hour. So that might be just as easy as getting in and out of the chair 10 times, or stretching the body up, stretching the shoulders back. So the exercises, like I said, that I go through in the videos, go through those in nice detail, and I'll share them in just a moment. But before we get into that, I just go through some of these apps, because I love an app, especially ones that are free during the Corona lockdown. And the ones that are free during the Corona lockdown are these two over here, which is the Down Dog app and its associated HIIT workout program. So these are the two that I'm suggesting to all my friends and family and anybody who'll listen for what you can do in order to stay active at home. It's as close as I can get to going to a yoga class or an exercise class, but you can do it in your home. It's got cool videos. And the best thing about this, we got some emails from people in the build up to today's talk asking about what they can do if they have a lot of pain, if they have chronic conditions. The Down Dog app actually has a yoga setting for people who just want to work out, do yoga in a chair. So if you are sat in an office, you can do as small as 5-minute slots up to as long as you want. I think 90-minute slots if you're going to do some real chair yoga. But if you're unable to get on the floor easily or be restricted by pain, etc., if you have lower back pain at the minute, then those chair yoga apps, exercises are going to be really beneficial to you. If you are a little bit fitter, then the HIIT workouts are also great, and they get the body moving in a nice holistic way with someone guiding you rather than just sort of trying to make it up as you go along. The other app that is really good for this type of thing, if you are more fit and want to try and improve your fitness during this time, is the Nike Training app up the top here. It's normally a paid-for service. They've made it free as well, and you can go and do lots of different exercises on that app. The one over my shoulder here, the little orange clock, is the Sleep Cycle app. So this, one of the things we're suggesting people to do to benefit their health is to have a regular sleep pattern. And the benefit of this clock or this app is it monitors your sleep cycles. So it wakes you up whenever you are ready to wake up, and not just whenever the alarm goes. One of the benefits, hopefully, that we're experiencing during lockdown is a better sleep because we're not having to commute to work. So that's a really good app to try and track how well you're sleeping and if there's anything that you can do in order to improve that. The one over in this corner is the one I was talking about regarding timing and retaining your focus. So that's called Focus Keeper, and it has periods. Basically, you can set the periods at 20 to 30 minutes, and you have cycles of periods where you're focused on one thing, and then it tells you to get up out of the chair and do something for a couple of minutes. And I think on the third cycle, which will be an hour to an hour and a half into your work, it'll tell you to take a longer break. So whenever we get into projects, I know I certainly sometimes get lost in a project and don't notice the time going. So that's a really good reminder to try and help keep you on track with that. And the last little app we have over here is one of my favorites. It's called Remante. Large sections of it are free, and then there are a few paid for applications, but it's really useful for developing new health habits and using your sort of time to educate yourself about different aspects of health. So if you're ever interested in why we need to drink more water, you know, setting goals towards improving your weight management or your overall health in that area, or there's an area of health you want to learn more about or be held accountable to, then that app is great for that. Okay, and lastly, as I said, there are a few videos that I've created. If you go on to YouTube, we'll give you a follow-up email after the webinar today with some information on it. But these are a few videos that I've made during lockdown to try and help people who are working at desks. So I've broken them down into lower back, middle back, and the neck pain issues. So if you go on to YouTube, you can search the health elevator and they should come up. I currently have only managed to upload the neck ones, but the lower back and middle back ones will be up shortly. Then you can have a look at those if you're suffering from any pain at the minute, and take a look at that. Okay, so I'm going to swap back to pretending to work from home, and I'll invite my other two panelists on here just to discuss anything else that they maybe had to add into what we just talked about.
Maybe, huh?
What do you think? Did you have any thoughts?
Well, thank you. As soon as you were talking about the setup, I was like slyly trying to grab another bug to raise my monitor a little bit. I realised I'm getting a bit of a double chin. It's not quite high enough, so I'm going to pop another book under there.
Great.
But no, I completely agree with what you said. It's so important that even though we might not be surrounded by a sea of eyes, we've still got to do the same things that we would do in an office to make sure that we are sat right, we're not just locked up in bed, and that we are moving around, and also stretching our body, stretching all the parts which get really tight. So, you know, our pecs, which can get so tight from coming forwards, just making sure that you are stretching and moving your body daily.
Yeah, absolutely, Charlie. I think that's super important. And, you know, I think we're all guilty of kind of letting our personal health and, you know, looking after ourselves kind of fall by the wayside when we do get a bit more time. And like Conor said, you know, all it takes is a couple of minutes every hour or so to kind of keep your body happy and healthy and moving the way it's designed to move and the way it needs to move, to not only support how you're feeling, but to support how you're functioning as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, Charlie, one of the other big things that we've been noticing is obviously it's a commonly overlooked aspect of this crisis, which is the mental health aspect. So we've talked a lot about the vulnerable populations, the elderly, and the people with immune compromised issues who are rightfully being protected by us social distancing and staying at home. But there's a population which are the mentally fragile, who will really be suffering at a time like this because of not being able to interact with the public. And generally, anybody who is having to spend extended periods of time at home will be suffering. So let's hand over to you, and you can talk a little bit more about what you think we should be doing to help manage those mental aspects of things.
Thank you, Conor, and thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be able to connect with everybody. Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about today is, obviously we have had drastic lifestyle change over the past few weeks. So we've lost a lot of our social connections. Our day-to-day life has changed. There's so much uncertainty. We've got the news firing at us every second of the day if we want that to be the case. So there are lots of stress factors that we're having to deal with at the moment. So I'm going to give you my 4 top tips of how you can stay relaxed and calm during this time. Something that we always talk about and emphasize as chiropractors is the importance of our brain and our nervous system. And we want our brain and our nervous system to function optimally so that we can be healthy and happy. So at the moment, as I was talking about, we have all these different stresses to contend with. So it's likely that at times, if not all the time, we're going to be in what's called a sympathetic state. So that is a stressed out state. This is a normal function of the body. It's something which we need so that we're primed and ready if we're under threat. So say if there was a tiger around the corner of my house, I hope there's not, I would need that fight or flight mode to be ready so that I could run away or fight the tiger. But if we're in this mode for a prolonged period of time, then that's going to have a detrimental effect on our health and on our mind. And the second thing is that, as Conor was saying, we've got so much information at the moment. You know, we're on our Zoom calls, we have amazing webinars, we're doing our online yoga. And again, we've got the constant media influx. There's a lot of things that our brain is having to contend with and a lot of uncertainty that we're having to adapt to. So because of that, I think it's as important as our daily exercise at the moment that we are having time to look after our mind and pause and reset. So my number one top tip is daily meditation. I think this is absolutely crucial. So when I say this to people, when I say this to clients, I often get grumbles. People say that they don't have time, which we probably do at the moment, or they will say that they're constantly bombarded with thoughts, that they just find it frustrating, or they might say that it just feels a little bit awkward or weird. But I think it's so, so important that we make this part of our daily routine. So if you've never meditated before, something that I recommend is just keep it really simple. One of the most important things is having consistency and having a portion of time each day that you just devote to relaxing and just to focusing your mind on something a little bit more positive. So have you noticed that when you are stressed out, we tend to tense up, we tend to breathe in a much more shallow way, and we tend to not be so focused. So when we are more relaxed and we're in a meditative state, we can breathe much more optimally and we can be much more relaxed. So the first thing I would recommend is to check in with yourself. So I would recommend in the morning, but anytime throughout the day when you feel like you need it, just close your eyes and pop your hands on your heart and hands on your belly, and just take a few moments to check in with how you're feeling. So how you're breathing, how your body's feeling, are there any tensions? And a common misconception with meditation is that we have to clear all of our thoughts away. We don't. It's just about taking time to connect with ourselves and to observe with what's going on. Doing that for a couple of minutes a day is really, really powerful. The second thing I'd recommend if you're a complete newbie is something called box breathing. So this is something which the Navy SEALs use, and it's super, super simple. So an app which I recommend, I love an app too, Conor. An app which I recommend is Insight Timer. So Insight Timer is great because there are loads of free meditations on there if you've got no idea where to start. I will pop some recommendations on the chat at the end. But you can also switch on a timer. So just give yourself 5 minutes, have a 2-minute check-in, and then you can do your box breathing. So box breathing is super simple. You inhale for, well, you can choose your count. You can inhale for 5, pause for 5, exhale for 5, and then pause for 5. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So it's super, super simple. And this is just 5 minutes of your day. It can have a really profound effect on how the rest of your day goes and how you feel within yourself. Something else I recommend is called a micro meditation. So just throughout the day, if you start to feel that feeling of overwhelm, just focus on one breath, the inhale, the pause, the exhale, and the pause. It's really, really powerful. So that's my first tip. I could talk about meditation all day, but I will move on. So the second one is we have 1 hour of precious time to go outside. So obviously it's really, really important that we make the most of it. So again, talking about meditation, we want to be mindful when we're having that hour outside, and we want to be as present as possible. So yes, we have a lot of things to think about at the minute, a lot of things to worry about, but having that hour, I would recommend leaving your phone at home. And if you're with loved ones, have that time with them. That's what I do with my little sister every day. We go for a walk together. I would recommend walking in that time. Lots of research shows that walking is an incredible way of reducing stress, and also just to get rid of some of that nervous energy which we can feel build up over time. So yes, definitely leave the phone at home. And ways that you can be mindful while you're out on your walk is feeling the sun on your face. The sun feels incredible today. And noticing the smells. I'm up north at the moment. I don't know if you can hear my accent coming through, but noticing the countryside around you, the textures, the colours, and just really appreciating what's right ahead of us, what's in front of us. I guarantee you'll enjoy your hour much more. And the last thing is make it fun. I took a ball out with my sister yesterday, and just playing catch with her and just doing something silly was actually really, really nice. So my next top tip, number 3, is limit screen time. So ironically, we're having screen time right now. We're probably having a lot of screen time. We all know it's not great to be on our screen 24 hours a day. And it's tricky at the minute because our whole life is online all through our phone. So the reason why I put this with also having a schedule for your day is that what can happen when we have no routine and we don't have our regular life is we can kind of let the day run us when we need to learn to run the day. So my advice would be the day before, or as you wake up in the morning, after doing your meditation practice, write down the things which are important, which you want to do in your day. Do you want to spend some quality time with your quarantine partner? Do you want to connect with a loved one? Maybe pick just one webinar that you want to do that day, and be mindful of how much you're choosing to use your screen for. I would also recommend, say, 7 p.m. Give yourself a cut-off time so that you can actually relax, give your eyes a rest, and your sleep will probably be much better if you do that too. So my last tip is gratitude. So bringing gratitude into your daily routine, and also making sure that you are keeping those close connections with loved ones. So I like this saying, I don't know who says it, but you can't be in fear and gratitude at the same time. So something which I do is every morning after I've done my meditation, I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for, or more. It probably ends up being a lot more. And I do the same thing at the end of the day. And the cool thing is that the longer that you do this for, you will start to look for the good. You'll start to see lots of good things that are happening, lots of good, nice little things that happen throughout the day. Like I got a phone call from Conor the other day just to check in and see how I was. I was really grateful for that. And it felt really good to write it down in my journal at the end of the day. So it's actually really powerful, and the research shows that one of the most important things is consistency with all these things. So it's not about doing it one day, it's about doing it day in, day out, and you'll notice more and more that you're feeling more grateful for things. And I think that's so important at the moment when we have got, you know, lots of stuff that has perhaps changed, or maybe we've lost things. And then my last point is, this is more for me as well. I don't know if there's any introverts out there. I am a massive introvert, and actually I don't like being on the phone all the time. I don't like WhatsApping just back and forth, back and forth. And I can go days and think, oh crap, I haven't connected with people that I want to connect with. And I think that's so important for our mental well-being at the moment, and that we are, again, choosing how we want to spend our day, who we want to connect with. A nice thing that I read the other day was maybe we should start writing letters again. So that person who you want to give a hug to, or you wish you could see in person, write them a letter and tell them some of the things about them that you're grateful for, and stuff maybe which you're looking forward to do when you're out of this situation. It's something I've done and I found it really powerful. So I hope you guys do too. So yeah, they are my 4 top tips. Meditate. Make the most of your 1 hour outside, and limit your screen time, schedule your day, and practice gratitude as much as you can. Yeah, that's my top tips.
Lovely. Great. Thank you, Charlie. That was amazing. Mike, did you have anything that sprung to mind during Charlie's talk?
Absolutely. The one thing that really kind of is maybe something that I've learned personally with trying to do a bit more meditation and trying to be a bit more mindful is oftentimes we try and do meditation to get better at meditating as opposed to doing meditation for what it's designed to do. And I think we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to clear our minds or be completely still, or to not cheat by opening your eyes or whatever it might be. But remember that that time is for yourself, and it's something that you're trying to do for your health and your benefit, not to necessarily just be better at it. So don't beat yourself up. Don't take it too seriously, but be consistent.
Yeah, spot on. I agree. I
think gratitude was one of the big things I started practicing about 2 years ago. And I think it does that. I always talk to people about the lens that they see the day through. So if you're constantly being bombarded, late in traffic, we don't have that problem at the minute, getting stressed on the underground or whatever it is on your way into work, then it can sometimes taint how you're looking at the day, and things that would normally not be a big stressor suddenly become a big stressor because it's in addition to everything else. So now that life is in some ways taking a bit of more of an easier because of the lack of community and everything else, I think it's important to be grateful for the time we have with our families. We may never have time like this again. The good quality food that we have the time to prepare. Now I'm speaking from someone who hasn't got kids running around in the background 24/7, so I appreciate not everybody has as much free time. But yeah, spending time with the kids, spending time with the family, connecting with your family. I don't think I've WhatsApped my mum as often as I have in this last week. So we're trying to look for the good that's come out of this very stressful social situation, and we're not out of the woods yet with it, but I think if we can remain in gratitude and try and distance ourselves somewhat from the stress of it all, then hopefully that will help our mental health as we come through it all. So we've dealt with the physical, we've dealt with the mental, now it's on to the chemical side of things. Mike, you're going to talk to us a little bit about our diets and what we should be doing at this time.
Yeah, Con, absolutely. And I think you kind of stole the opening line to what I was going to say there with during this time, it's important to remember that it's not just about moving well or thinking well or eating well, but it's important about doing all three of those things consistently throughout this period of time to make sure that when life does go back to some semblance of normality, that we haven't put ourselves further back than where we started. So I'm going to share with you guys today just a few really brief things in terms of how nutrition can help boost your immunity and the importance behind family meals and making that a ritual during this time where we do perhaps have a bit more time on our hands as well. So if you've got a pen and paper, please keep it out because I will be asking you to jot down a couple of short things. If you've got any questions, please do just pop them in the chat and we'll try our best to get around to answering them as we can. So the first thing to start off with is why is our immune system so important? And what I would like you to do is to think of your immune system as your body's own private army, if you will. And that army is tasked with keeping your body healthy from the organisms and pathogens that we might come into contact with on a daily basis. Whether it's something we breathe in, something we swallow, or something we touch, your body is designed to fight those off to keep us functioning and feeling fit and happy and healthy. Now, the amazing thing about our immune system is that it is operated innately. We don't have to think about it. We don't have any shots to call or messages to send. It runs in the background on autopilot. The other thing about the immune system is that it is constantly learning and adapting so that it can be effective over time. What we've seen with the coronavirus, though, is that we've been bombarded by a new virus that we haven't seen before in the past, which is why it's caught a lot of us off guard. When our immune system becomes compromised, for whatever reason, we see an increase or a buildup in the number of bacterial and viral cells, which then lead to us becoming ill or experiencing some form of symptom. So how do we boost our immune system to ensure that we have the strongest army possible so that we can fight off these viruses and bacteria as effectively as we can? So I'm going to go through just really 5 easy things that you can all do, somewhat easier than others perhaps, but if you can implement 3 out of 5 of these, you'll put yourself in a much better place to stay healthy during the lockdown period. So firstly, eat whole foods. Try and make most of your diet healthy, nutrient dense, and minimally processed. And as Conor said, I'm unfortunately not lucky enough to have kids as yet. So I perhaps don't appreciate how tough it can be when you've got, kids running around and kicking and screaming, and, they've got a bit of cabin fever. It is sometimes easy just to reach for a microwave meal or something frozen or fried. But where possible, try and eat as many whole nutrient-dense foods as you can. If we do this, you should get a good healthy dose of phytonutrients, antioxidants, vitamins and minerals through your diet. But if not, we can always look to supplementation as well. And we know that there are a number of powerful supplements that we can use to help boost our immune system. The first one is vitamin D, which is the sunshine vitamin, which we're very lucky to be getting loads of at the moment. But considering where we live in the UK, large proportions of our population are chronically vitamin D deficient. So it's super important that even in the times where the sunshine is out, that we supplement with a vitamin D supplement as well. Vitamin D promotes a healthy immune system. It helps protect us against infections, and it has been shown to be essentially even more important in respiratory type infections, which is what the coronavirus ultimately is. In terms of where to get vitamin D, if you do want to get it through your diet, it's predominantly found in animal sources. So things like fatty fishes, beefs, egg yolks are a good source of vitamin D. Otherwise, look to mushrooms as well if you aren't wanting to go into the meat option. However, if you do want to use a supplement, this is a brand that I really like to use. It is called Better You. It comes in a neat little spray bottle. It tastes like peppermint. So if you've got kids who are a little bit funny about taking pills or taking supplements, then a little spray under the tongue. It tastes really nice. It's quick and easy and absorbed into the system really, really effectively as well. The next vitamin that I would recommend you take during this period of time to help boost your immune system is vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is perhaps the first vitamin that people think about when we mention the words immune boosting. And there's good reason for that. We know that vitamin C is incredibly powerful at helping support normal immune function. And the good thing about vitamin C is that it's water soluble, which means it gets into the body really quickly, but it also leaves the body really quickly as well. So it's important that we keep an eye on our vitamin C doses throughout the day, week, and longer term timeframes as well. In terms of how to dose on vitamin C, you're looking at around 2,000 milligrams per day, but adjust that dosage according to your tolerance, because we know that if you have too much vitamin C, you will start to see some dietary issues like diarrhea, for example. Really good sources of vitamin C are all your colorful fruits and veggies. So think grapefruit, easy peelers, oranges, things like bell peppers are really good in vitamin C, and then things like sweet potatoes as well. The next supplement that I would recommend that people should take during this lockdown period is zinc. And zinc really is a immune powerhouse. It helps to inhibit virus replication, which is obviously really important when we consider how viruses infect and affect the human body. It reduces inflammation and helps to reduce some of the respiratory symptoms that we can see with bacterial and viral infections as well. Really good sources of zinc include things like nuts and seeds, eggs, mushrooms, beef, and seafood. And it's something that we should all really be looking to increase, because, figures kind of show that at least 30% of the world's population are deficient in zinc. at any one given time. So something really easy that we can, a handful of almonds or a handful of walnuts or cashews can go a long way to helping you get your zinc boost for the day as well. And then the last supplement that I would look at recommending during this time is a good quality probiotic. So probiotics are important for maintaining proper digestion and gut health. And we know that our gut is connected to all areas of our body, including our nervous system. So a healthy gut is important for a healthy nervous system. A probiotic that I use every day, my fiance and I use every day, is by a company called Cytoplan. And this is called Acidophilus Plus. Again, in a pill form, really easy and straightforward to take, and not too much of an issue, but really, really important. So to kind of wrap that all up and the key points to take from that, it makes sense for your health and for your immune system to stick to a nutrition plan that provides quality, healthy, good, nutrient-dense foods where possible. It's also important to make healthy nutrition part of a healthier lifestyle, like we've kind of spoken about a bit already. In this time where we are spending a bit more time with friends with family, we are also presented with a unique opportunity now to make nutrition beneficial for the whole family. So a way that I'm really passionate about with this, and a way that I think you can help yourselves and your families, is to embrace the concept of family meals. Now, I don't know about everyone else on this call here, but I can remember, a few really standout periods in my childhood that were centered around meals, whether it was Friday night pizza night, or dad's famous barbecue on a Sunday afternoon, or going down to the beachfront for fish and chips. Making meals about family time can be an incredibly powerful way to ensure that the whole family is getting good quality nutrition. Most of us have a bit more free time on our hands now than we perhaps ever have done, although I'm sure there are a number of parents out there screaming at me, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. But as Charlie was saying as well earlier, there's never really been a time where we've been forced to spend as much time together as what we are now. And we have a choice with what we do with that time. We can either waste it watching Netflix or binge watching something on Amazon Prime and laying about in our pants, or we can be proactive about what we do. And I strongly suggest that you choose to invest this time in doing things that will enrich your family's health in the long run. Now, eating together as a family is incredibly important, and it's something that we take advantage of. We know that there are many health benefits to preparing and eating food together as a family, and these things can include things like healthier food choices and eating habits in kids, improved grades, stronger parent-child bonds, better mental health in kids, which is obviously super important, and improved overall nutrition and less picky eaters, essentially. So the benefits of family meals extend far and above just the nutritional value that the kids will get from that meal. And I appreciate it may not always be easy to sit down to have a family meal with hectic, kids' schedules and, parents working and our busy lifestyles. So when you are starting to think about family meals, just keep it simple. Start small, add in one additional family meal every week or every month if you can, where possible. Again, keep it achievable and keep it manageable. And here are just 5 really quick, easy things that you as parents, for those parents on the call, can do at home to help get your kids involved in helping in the kitchen with meal preparation and with meal times. So set the example. We all know the phrase that kids are great imitators. So kids who see their parents approach food and nutrition with a positive attitude will likely do the same moving forwards into the future. Get your kids to help with age-appropriate tasks, whether it's counting out how many lemons you need or tearing apart the lettuce leaves, to anything like maybe, switching on and operating the oven. Experiment with deconstructed foods so that the choice amongst the kids and amongst the family members is there. So things like a build your own salad bar, or a let's make our own stir fry meal, for example, are great ways to start with getting kids engaged in family mealtime and family meal preparation as well. And then lastly, sit down and try and plan a menu with your kids. Involve them in the process of choosing what they want to eat, whilst keeping in mind that you want to make sure that it's, you know, kind of nutritionally beneficial to them as well, and it's not just pizza and chicken nuggets on repeat week in, week out. And once you've planned that menu with your kids, get them to help you write the grocery list, or when we can, go back to the grocery store or the farmer's market with yourself to pick out those groceries and things as well, and involve them in the entire process. Because if we can start to develop these rituals and these practices now, when we do eventually get busier and when we do go back to running around, we'll have these to fall back on because we've had the time to implement them now. So please do give these things a try. Remember that change takes time, but the rewards of family meals and good nutrition are well worth it. And that's all really from me. I'll hand back over to Conor and to Charlie.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Now, we were having a chat earlier, Mike, about the dosage of vitamin D. One of our attendees just asked about, hi Carol, asked about the dosage. And we were talking about how being exposed outside in the sun is what the recommendation is for about half an hour each day. And during that time, you will make 20,000 units of vitamin D. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so talk a little bit maybe about how that equates with supplementation.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So thank you, Carol, for asking that. Yeah, essentially to get enough vitamin D from the sun, which is our primary source of vitamin D, you need to spend between 10 to 30 minutes outdoors with about 25% of your body exposed to the sun. And in that time frame, you'll create about, as you've said, 20,000 units of vitamin D. In terms of what we would need per day, you're looking at around 5,000 units to keep your levels of vitamin D at something above normal or at an optimal range. So obviously living in the UK at the moment with having restrictions in terms of how much time we get to spend outside and you know, not being asked to go and suntan in the park or on the beachfront, my recommendations would be to look at about 5,000 units a day per adult, unless you are overweight or obese, in which case you can probably increase that slightly. For toddlers, you're looking around 1,000 units a day. For kids between the ages of 4 to 12, anywhere between 2 to 3,000. And then for teenagers up towards young adults, again, between kind of 3 to 5,000 or as close to the adult dose as what you think is necessary.
And that's 3 to 5,000 units, right?
Yeah.
So I think we were talking about the standard sort of Tesco vitamin D supplementation generally has about 10 micrograms, right? Which equates to about 400, right? Now that Cytoplan you said that at 100 milligrams. I have it here with me. 100. Let's see if we can get it up there.
Yeah.
So that's 10 times what the Tesco brand had, and there's a reason for that, isn't it? Because if you can produce, if your body's naturally designed to produce 20,000 units in just half an hour of being in the sunshine, 400 units as a supplement isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, is it?
No, not at all. And again, I think this is something that's really important for people to remember, is that not all supplements are created equal. So if you are going to invest money and time in getting supplements, please make sure you get good quality ones. And if you have any questions about brands that we would suggest or recommend, then please do get in touch with Conor or I or through the Halsa channels, and we can send you across a list of supplement companies and brands that we would perhaps recommend because we know of their quality and efficacy.
Yeah, we can do that in the follow-up email for everybody as well. We have Carol again just followed up with darker skins need longer exposure. Yes, that's right. So if you actually look at where England is, sort of from an altitude point of view. We're kind of in line with parts of Russia and Canada, so we are a very northern country. Sometimes we don't appreciate that. So anybody whose ancestry comes from further south will definitely need to have some form of supplementation in some parts during the year. People from Scandinavian backgrounds, for example, and probably white Irish backgrounds like myself, will be able to probably produce vitamin D from sunlight a little bit more efficiently, because historically our ancestors didn't get exposed to it that often. But even my ancestors would have been outside digging potatoes and turf for many hours of the day, not sat inside under sort of artificial lights and not having that period outside. So yeah. So is there's any other questions for the panel? We're going to stay on for about another 10 minutes. So if there's any other questions with anybody who's online at the minute, then please ask. And also, this is the first time we've done this. We decided to do it earlier this week, and thank you to everybody who's joined us today. We've had over 180 people. If you found it useful, please just let us know in the comment section, and perhaps we can do it again next week if it is something that is of benefit to you. And for anybody who joined late or who couldn't make it, then we'll try and put it onto a YouTube channel as well, and we'll forward that to you after the webinar today. So any other questions for any? I see we've got a few in the question and answers section here. Mike, being obese is one of the risks for corona. Being physically fit and healthy and strong but obese, that will affect obviously your body's ability to being fit and healthy is good because your immune system is going to be stronger. However, can you talk about maybe why being obese or having more fat content is potentially a risk factor for corona?
Yeah, I think, obviously when we start looking at using the word obese, though, it's something that I always try and do tentatively, because how are we being diagnosed as being obese? Because if we just look at something like BMI, for example, we know that that's not a very accurate way for us to understand someone's obesity index. So I'd say first and foremost is make sure that if you've been told that you're obese, that you've had the adequate kind of testing or investigations to kind of give you that answer. Now, pardon me, the way in which being obese kind of will impact your health is it'll put stress and strain on a number of your body's systems, which will ultimately divert energy away from your body being able to invest that into its own immune responses and making sure that your body is being able to kind of fight the fires that are more imminent and kind of more at that time point. From a nutritional standpoint itself, we know, just on the topic of like vitamin D, for example, vitamin D is fat soluble, which means that it requires dietary fat to be absorbed into the body, but it also means it gets stored in the body as well. So if we are more obese, or if we have more body fat, what we'll generally do is we'll store that additional vitamin D rather than utilize these cells and through various mechanisms that it gets used in the body.
Great. We've had a few people email me in advance and say on the call today that they are missing their adjustments. I have 1 or 2 people ask me if they can crack themselves. Dr. Charlie, do you have any thoughts on cracking yourself and the benefit of it?
I mean, it would be amazing if we could do a self-adjustment. I would love an adjustment right now. So I could totally empathize and understand, but no, I do not recommend self-cracking, because that's not an adjustment. Obviously we are trained chiropractors and we spent lots of years studying the spine and the nervous system, and it's about moving certain areas so that our brain and our nervous system can work optimally. So no, you can't self-crack. But having said that, one of the most important things that I would recommend at the moment is moving your body as much as possible. So something which I did in the first week is I went mental with all the HIIT workouts, and I could feel that on my lower back. So I think it's important, even though you're in lockdown, don't start going mad with workouts that you don't usually do. Focus on things that your body is used to, and be really mindful with how you move in your body. Having a regular stretch routine, there's lots of stuff on the internet at the moment, and having a regular yoga routine, and keeping your spine, well, we call it spinal hygiene, but keeping your spine moving as well as possible, even though we're in lockdown. I think that's the most important thing that we can do at the moment.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, as far as self-manipulation, you can sometimes get a cavitation or a crack out of your spine by stretching it to an extreme, but the research would sort of suggest that it creates instability within the spine, and can in some cases be quite dangerous if you're doing it sort of through the rib cage or in the neck. So we don't advise cracking yourself, but as soon as we are able to safely go back and take care of everybody, we will be doing so. And in the meantime, we'll hopefully be joining you again next week for another Wellness Wednesday webinar. And if you have any questions or any topics you would like us to cover, chiropractors, there's many of us in Halsa. We have many different interests in health and lots of different knowledge from 5 to 7 years of chiropractic school. So please feel free to drop us an email, and otherwise we will follow up with an email tomorrow with some of the information from our talks today. Yeah, we hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.